among students is hearing things like, I just can't believe my parents would think it's okay to raise me more. And you hear things like that, you're going, well, so you've stepped away completely from it's about culture to I disagree with the beliefs to it's wrong to have these beliefs. That's where we are. You're a stat. No, I've not heard the stat.
Okay. By 2018, they did a poll of everyone who had graduated and, their major was being in the anthropology department, and not 20, not 30, not 50, but 100% of those polled were not creationists, but were in fact evolutionists. 100% at BYU.
Interesting.
How do we get there and talking what you're talking about and not have I don't know. That seems like a problem that should have reared its ugly head a while ago and had a fix to it.
So again, when I talked about how we start teaching Mormonism light, right? I go and I've read what the early apostles said about Adam and Eve and the creation of man. A lot of it was Adam and Eve were literally created by Heavenly Father and Mother and literally placed on earth. They physically, literally placed on earth.
Right.
Book of Abraham seems to describe it that way. Another film seems to describe it that way, a film that we all watch, right? So, you've got some people that reconcile that with evolution, and there's all these different theories as to how. But if you've abandoned completely the idea of God creating Adam and Eve and gone fully on evolutionism, I mean, that's just rejecting the book of Genesis. That's rejecting the pearl of great price. That's rejecting.
Because that's how they can start to get there, though, isn't it? Because you're talking about people who are now teaching that you have to essentially deny Christ to graduate from BYU, but at the same time, if there is no Adam and Eve, there is no need for a Christ.
Well, this is going to get deep. They always make you deny Adam before you deny Christ, right? So who created the world? Michael and Jehovah, under the direction of the Father, create the world. Adam fell, Christ is risen. Adam, as Michael, will help with Christ lead the battle against the evil at the last day. Adam will lead General Conference. People don't think about how much Jehovah and Michael are working very closely together in the creation of the world and in the end of the world. So you go after Adam first, and then you go after Christ. They're literally following the same time, right?
Which, of course, and that's the whole point. We have temples, right? Because the temple, or everything involved in the temple, is us coming away from this earth, away from this death, and going back to Christ into eternal life. Right. If there's no Adam, there's no Christ, then there's no need for temples,
right? And
there's no need for BYU.
Well, so I mean, it's pretty sad to see. I know that in the humanities at BYU, there's an issue with professors and apostasy. I'll just say it. There's one professor, Jason Kerr at BYU. Someone tweeted online. He said, "I believe Heavenly Mother is a fat queer black woman who says the F word."
Oh,
yeah. He replied, "That's a beautiful theology," or something like that. And I'm going okay, whatever. That's. I mean, that's not. First of all, politics, religion aside, that's just not a beautiful theology. That's just.
No.
You know what I mean? Harry Potter's a better theology than that, right? So, so you've got stuff like that happening, but that's just the baby steps of it. So now what I'm dealing with among students is hearing things like, I just can't believe my parents would think it's okay to raise me more. And you hear things like that, you're going, well, so you've stepped away completely from it's about culture to I disagree with the beliefs to it's wrong to have these beliefs. That's where we are. And again, it's worse than you guys think. It's worse than you think. And where it's going to go is, and this is my extreme frustration and anger with BYU faculty. And I feel, I gotta be careful with how I phrase this. I feel that BYU faculty either is too afraid to really acknowledge what's going to happen, they don't know what's going to happen, or they're okay with it happening. And I think it's a mixture of all three. Mm-hmm. FBI crime report listed a spike in anti-Mormon hate crimes. Did you guys know that?
In Utah?
In Utah. And
Okay.
chapels have just been getting set on fire, and parts of temples have been getting set on fire. Chapels have been getting vandalized. Missionaries getting physically assaulted. One, it just happened in Payson. Sister missionaries, I mean, forget about it, right? Like bad things happening to sister missionaries. My friend, his sister served a mission, and she got raped on her mission, had to come home early. Horrible, horrible things, right? So what's happening is, as anti-Mormon media increases, anti-Mormon violence is increasing. Where have we seen that before? Oh, I don't know. Kirtland, Nauvoo, right? We've already seen this happen. So my issue is
usually it's those that were in the church at one time that become the worst enemy. Yeah. And so I love what you said about the attack on the covenant. In the Doctrine and Covenants, it says, in the ordinances is the power of godliness manifest. Ordinance and covenants are together. You perform an ordinance to make a covenant. And when you attack that, then you attack the power of God in someone's life. And when you attack that, and the power of God is not in someone's life, they're vulnerable. I think you are right on this. And that's the very essence of the attack. It's not the social justice letters at the time. It's that very, it's almost like attacking the immune system of the spirit by getting rid of that covenant or that ordinance. Exactly. So beautifully said. And I wonder, what do you think the brethren, do you think they know about this, and what could they do to either slow it down or stop this?
So here's the issue. I hear so many things of like, well, I spoke with elder so and so and he told me. I don't know how much of it's true, right? Yeah,
there's always that.
But what my fear is, and then I'll say what I think should happen. Okay. My fear first is something that people don't want to think about, but I feel that this is going to happen with the rise of anti-Mormonism. And like you said, it's always those who were once members: John DeLynn, Mike Norton, Zelf on the Shelf, these people, right? Well, when these people with these ex-Mormon, anti-Mormon platforms, there's a very dangerous echo chamber that happens on these message boards and in these video chats. And the level of hate is extremely strong. It turned from, I left the church, I need a place to go, and you end up radicalized, the church is evil, we must take it down.
Yeah.
Almost with a by any means necessary sort of dog whistle. Well, what's going to happen? We're already having a spike of anti-Mormon hate crimes. We've got a lot of anti-Mormons, and they're getting more vocal and more violent and more aggressive. We're in the age of school shootings. Have people not really considered what could actually happen? Have people not really considered how we need to be protecting sister missionaries a lot more than we are? I'm saying, like, there really is some nasty stuff that can happen, and I expect it to happen. And I tell you, I'm upset at BYU faculty because, I mean, not all of them, a lot of them, because I don't think any measures have been taken to truly protect the students. It would not be hard for some deranged anti-Mormon to grab a gun and walk onto campus and start shooting. It could happen. And the CES letter as his manifesto. And it's because Joseph Smith was evil, Brigham Young was a bigot, and the church hurts and harms. Insert minority group today, and they have to be taken down. And these are the enablers of this bigotry, right? Because Satan always comes as this form of a savior, right? So right. I'm just going, how on earth have you guys not thought of a way to stop this? This was the biggest thing this year. I made a post about it. I got in a lot of trouble, but I didn't really care. BYU was they were talking about, hey, we need to make sure that nobody is going to catch COVID. Don't catch COVID. Don't make sure you socially distance and don't gather. And as someone who works in the events, world, it's like, well, great, thanks. But my question was, wait. The Department of Health made clear you're bringing in over 100,000 students into one small area of Provo and Orem. As I'm moving in, I go to the Target, to the linens to get sheets and bedding and all that. It's all picked over. Quite literally, all these students came on these airplanes, got in the front runners, went all of the same stores, are literally picking through each other's sheets and pillowcases and blankets. And then they're meeting, they're doing all this, they're coming together, and then COVID's already happening. And they're going, I can't believe COVID hit us. You just brought over 100,000 people into one area. Of course, COVID's going to spread. And so my question was, why are you just saying, hey, this is the students' fault? What happens if there's a COVID outbreak? Are you really going to send all the students then into Arizona, Gilbert, Mesa, the Salt Lake Valley, the Utah Valley, St. George, Rexburg, Boise, Pocatello? You're going to send all these students who are the COVID's just it's going to grow. There's no doubt. Removing events, removing hot tubs, all this thing, COVID's going to grow. They didn't even have a game plan for if there was an outbreak, that then they're going to send the students to all the other Western states, and that would infect more cities. They didn't even have a game plan. And I'm saying this is what BYU is run by so many book smart people, academics.
I was going to ask
not
you,
street smart.
Are we talking about people that have temple recommends too? Some of them?
Oh yeah. A lot of these people have temple recommends.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, without doubt. I mean,
BYU. My gosh.
I've also said publicly, don't be surprised if you see not only the temple films have been leaked, but if you see some people doing really heinous acts in the temple as a form of protest. There was just a BYU student who got kicked out for having do you guys know what OnlyFans is?
No.
Good. OnlyFans is a website, very fast, popular growing social media website where basically if it's like Instagram for porn. At this point, you can create your own social media profile and make your own porn, and people will subscribe to it and get and be able to watch your porn, whatever content you want. You can make it for anything, but it's mostly for porn. I had a friend who made an OnlyFans, and it was actually him just reading the Book of Mormon. But he made the title of the video something really sexually suggestive. And some people would click on it, thinking they were getting, and it was him just reading from it. Really funny trolling, right? But there was a BYU student who took his garments and he was making porn in his garments as a protest against the church, right? He just got kicked out of BYU, thank goodness, right? But
is that their line?
Yeah, that's their line, right? No,
good.
No temple themed porn, right? So
good.
Again, that's worse than, I'm saying it's worse than people think. It's at that level. And you had students at BYU defending him, going, I can't believe the church is being so homophobic by kicking him out. He's making porn in temple garments. You're gonna get kicked out. Right. You just can't do that. You wouldn't do it in a yarmulke. You wouldn't do it in a hijab. You can't do it in garments, right? So it's worse than people think.
Kwaku?
Yes.
Yeah, to back you up again. So Brother Palmer and Troy, I got a friend, and he went through a divorce maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. But before they got divorced, the bishop sent him over to one of these counselors, and the counselor is usually supposed to be a temple recommend carrying card member, and this woman who is a temple recommended card holder recommended to my friend and his wife that they enter into an open relationship to try to fix the relationship. And that was paid for by church dollars for them to go and help them out. So not only is Kwaku talking about a problem that is percolating right now, but apparently this has been percolating for a very long time and is now into the professional rings of many, many ancillary programs that the church runs today.
Man,
it shall begin in my house, right? So again, when online and on Stone 16, I've been a little harsh with my words sometimes, a little aggressive, because I'm not perfect, but I also want people to understand we're up against something very bad. They're making porn in temple garments. New name Noah. I'm not sure if he did or he tried to. He planned on sneaking 2 porn stars into the temple to film a lesbian sex scene.
Yeah.
Right? I'm saying we're seeing a spike of anti-Mormon hate crimes. We're in the age of school shootings. We're talking about real violence that's going to come, really bad things. And I'm like, people wake up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if I have to look like the crazy guy on the wacky podcast for a couple of years. Please wake up and understand what's going on. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And so, I want people to understand that. So it's worse than people think. Now I have hope, right? I'm not this such a doomsday of we're just screwed. I have hope. The hope I found is working in the event scene and a lot of people who will come to various concerts and parties and all those things. A lot of them are not active, but I've been finding something very insane. Of the people I've met who don't really go to church, they go to UVU, a lot of them, or University of Utah. I have found more members who believe and love God who have honor, who are inactive recently. And I've been surprised. And they'll say, I don't really go, but Joe Smith is a prophet. I believe the Book of Mormon. I'm just not good at going. And I just get bored at church. And, I messed up with a girl, so I feel a little bit bad going in, but I believe it full-heartedly. Right. And then I meet some people at BYU who go every Sunday, who look the perfect part, but they have completely apostate beliefs. And I'm going, wait a minute here. It's like you've got people who may not be living in it that well, but they have honor in their heart. And if Christ came, they would bend the knee and they would say, this is the Lord. And the others would be very upset too, right? So I've been noticing, I think we're going to see people come out of the woodwork and start defending the church and bringing observations from years of inactivity, but still having a love for God. And what my hope is what that's going to do is I think that's going to show people on the fence, oh, wait, this is what it's like when you're inactive and you come back. I don't need to listen to the fake therapists who are telling me I need to abandon my covenants to be more Christ-like, right? That kind of thing. So we have this, we have a very interesting mix right now in Utah. And I always like to highlight our Polynesian community because this is my favorite story. I was not there, but I know someone very close to the story when it happened. I work with him. He lives in Los Angeles and it's during Prop 8, right? And all these protests are going on in Prop 8 and all these, and the police are spread all throughout LA trying to contain protests. A group of protesters is on its way to the LDS temple, the Los Angeles temple. And the temple workers know that it's coming and they're very afraid because the people coming in bats, they have, they've got spray paint, they're coming to break windows and do some damage. And they are not above hurting the people in the temple too. Yeah. So I'm not sure if it's a temple president or just one of the temple workers. He says, I'm going to call my nephew. And he's a Tongan guy. And so he calls his nephew and he says, I need you to get your brothers and your cousins. And he says, how many? All of them. And get to the temple as fast as you can. So within minutes, and these are Islander members who've been inactive for a while, but like I said, they believe in honor and they know the church is true and they will defend it. So if they just come in, they see all these Jeeps and trucks just pulling up and their shirts aren't even buttoned right. Like they're off buttons, the ties aren't even on. And they're just like these giant, like big buff polys just get out and they're ready. And the protesters come across the street and they stop and they just see like, it's probably a couple hundred protesters versus maybe 60 Polynesians. And they're just there like, we're ready. And we're going to win. And it just takes one protester who just runs up angrily. One guy grabs him by his shirt and with one arm throws him back. And the polys stay there for days. They come back each day. And eventually the protesters said, we're not going to be able to get in because they have a bunch of Hawaiians and Tongans guarding it. And the LA temple was saved from being just destroyed by protesters. So that's a real life recent example.
Yeah, I think I've heard that story before.
It's a beautiful one, right? And so
oh yeah,
we are going to see things like that happen. We are going to see people come together and people step forward to the plate, people with honor, people who honor God and honor Jesus Christ. And we're going to be surprised by the people who come to protect us. But man, I have seen some really sad stuff happening at BYU. A lot of my friends have been pretty targeted who stand up to it. I've been targeted, but man, it's nothing compared to what I think is going to happen. And it's also nothing compared to what the professors being held hostage. So a lot of professors are really good Orthodox members of the church. They don't have a hate-filled bone in their body.
Right.
But they know that a lot of the people who run BYU are terrified of criticism. BYU has one of the worst PRs I've ever seen in my entire life. Absolutely terrible PR. And both sides recognize how bad the PR is. And if there's one thing BYU does not like, it's bad press and bad exposure. And professors know that they can get fired if a couple mean articles are written about them, because they know that a lot of those people running BYU do not have the courage to stand up and back their brethren. So they're afraid. And those who are against the
That's
gospel,
sad.
no, they know that they can target a professor, and they know they can get the Salt Lake Tribune and the Daily Herald. They know they can get tweets circulating, Instagram posts circulating. They know that they can get different institutions. Behold, the enemy is combined. They know they can get them together and target people. And so we have professors who are terrified. And so it's really, really sad to see, because there are people. It went from people who didn't fully have a testimony or didn't feel like they belonged in the culture, feeling alone at BYU, to now it's people who have a testimony, and because they have a testimony, they feel alone at BYU. If you're in a certain major, forget about it. So
just ask Stephen Jones.
Right. I mean, so Hank Smith, right? Hank Smith being horrifically targeted these past 2 weeks. And so I can't tell you how motivating it is to see you guys having channels. When we first started Saints Unscripted, I was 19? You know what I mean? Like 19, new convert, only convert of 3 years, and didn't have much to bring to the table. 2 years. And it was us versus a ton of anti-Mormons who were vicious. And now I'm seeing all these channels appear, all these people not afraid to say, this is what I believe.
Well,
and it's beautiful. Like, it's actually beautiful. And it's not academics doing it. It's just real people.
I've heard you say that before too, Kwaku.
Well, it's motivating.
Well, I mean, there used to be a time where we were told, and Palmer remembers this, and maybe Kyle, but where we didn't talk to anti-Mormons. We weren't allowed to even, we were discouraged from you know what I'm saying? Like from even approaching anything like that, and just ignoring it. We were told to ignore it. Now we have this inundation of YouTube channels and people coming out, like you said, out of the woodwork, that are just like, I'm tired of it. And not just defending the faith, but also expounding on the faith as well.
Teaching what we truly believe.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And we may not have like the perfect filters or the best camera or all the nice production that Stone 16 has. No. And by the way, that Saints Unscripted needs to stop shadow banning you.
I talked with the producer. They redid all their thumbnails. They took me off the thumbnails, but they kept the episodes with me on. So it's whatever. It's not my show. It's they can do whatever they want.
Right.
But yeah. But what's been beautiful about this is, aside from Interpreter Foundation, Book of Mormon Central, a lot of these new channels they're not people who work for the church. They're not church historians. They're not academics. They're just members of the church who have taken upon the name of Christ and who have made covenants. That's the only credentials you need.